Okay, guys, welcome back to yet another podcast, to yet another episode here with Peter from METIS. And today is all about METIS, which is layer 2. And we're going to be discussing how to do some contracts. What is the difference between METIS and other layer 2s on Ethereum? Why should we care? Why should we use it? Why should we upload our contracts there? We're going to discuss the ecosystem, who is already building on top of METIS. We're going to look into what kind of tools you can use in order to build, and so on and so forth. And with that being said, welcome, Peter. Or Juan, like you said, we can use both. We can use Peter
You can use
or
both
Juan.
names. It's totally fine. Yeah,
Yeah, I just see that in the actual name in the Google Meet it says Juan. But yeah, guys, so you it's either Juan or Peter. So welcome. Tell us a bit about yourself, how you got into Metis, and what's the big vision with Metis that you guys are solving.
absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for inviting me here. So meetings actually started around 3 or 4 years ago, and I lost the count of time because every day is so busy. I don't even know we're in 2023. My model was still 2022. So sometimes when I set the date, I always set 2022. Still adjusting. So 3 years or 4 years ago, so when we first started, we want to solve a problem which is called cross-discipline collaboration. So we noticed that there are a lot of collaboration needed in this world, especially with people now more specializing in certain areas instead of a whole bunch of generalists. So with a lot of people that specialize in this area and that area, different areas, disciplines, working together, it becomes a more powerful organization. So that's the problem we want to solve. So we actually create a platform on Ethereum mainnet. And we actually released it, and the people try it out. And the biggest problem they hit is, okay, you know what? Every time I do something, I have to pay the $10 or $20, and for wait two
Right,
minutes
right.
to make it finish. There's no way we can use this platform, right? So when we look at
But
this, you
sorry,
know
so
what?
so you say that your first like your first project was to build this collaboration platform, right, on Ethereum,
Exactly,
where you can build like a
exactly,
team or organization and work together worldwide, and you discovered that
exactly.
the fees are very high.
Yeah, it's basically not feasible to do such things on Ethereum. And you can imagine that 3 years ago, Ethereum mainnet speed is slow and the cost is very high.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
it's different because we're kind of low market, but in the hot market, it's extremely high and very costly.
Right.
So we determined, we cannot continue this route because no one's going to use this. So we have to find a way to bring the cost down, to bring the speed up, so people can start using this day to day. And that actually triggers our first pivot in Metis, that we start looking at the Optimus rollup as a layer 2 solution.
So
So
when
so
was
we
that? What is it?
again
Because
around three years ago. So
okay,
when
okay.
when
Because
the when the layer 2 is not a thing yet, we're already looking at layer 2. So we actually explored quite a number of solutions, Plasma.
yeah.
For example, I would look at Polygon's solution. So we determined, you know what, this is not really a layer 2. Well, shots fired.
Why? Let's dig into it, because I was gonna say that in 2017, like at the top of the market, I remember everyone was speaking about Plasma. Vitalik was speaking about Plasma. It's gonna be
yes.
fantastic, and then Plasma kind of never happened, and then Polygon also started. They started in the middle of the last bear market, kind of. I remember Polygon
Uh-huh.
pumped and dumped like crazy, and it wasn't this big coin like it is now. It was like this, up and coming. I think they did the Binance sale. It was, I mean, it had humble beginnings, and at that, but basically when I think when you discovered Polygon, it's not the Polygon that most people know now, which is like massive. At that point, it was quite new and small, and so why at that point did you not decide to use it or any other solution?
It's a good question. So, what we're trying to do is really to find a way that we can inherit the security of Ethereum entirely, not to create another consensus layer. So
Right.
Polygon does have its own set of validators, and rely on them to generate commits and submit. So that's something that we don't like. So in like a strict definition of a layer 2, they may not be classified as a
Yeah.
one, but still, it's a very important contributor to the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm not discounting them whatsoever.
And
It's just
that's
that for
but
the
that's
pure
fair because
technical, yeah,
That's fair, because that's the biggest criticism, I think, to Polygon, that there is some sort of multi-sig holding the assets. And by the way, I'm not an expert in that, but that's what I see. I follow Chris Black on Twitter, and he's writing
Uh-huh.
sometimes about
Yeah,
Polygon, that like multi-sig and chain. The same thing is
I
about
think
Chainlink, that there's some kind of multi-sig.
I think they're right in a way. And to be honest, in reality, all the layer two solutions right now, all the scaling solutions right now, have a multi-sig wallets, kind of powerful. The reason why we have
Well,
that
what?
is that
What do, yeah, sorry, you were
yeah,
you were
the
just
reason why
starting
we
to
have
explain.
yeah, the reason why we have that is that the technology itself is still new. And I don't know if you noticed that there are a lot of hackers around in the space. There are a lot of big kind of hacking
I've noticed, yeah.
incidents.
Yeah.
So sometimes I jokingly, when I need to talk to Vitalik because look, your EVM is designed in a way that is very prone for any security holes. And he's very smart, by the way. But it's a great system. But there's just so much things that you have to be careful when designing
Yeah, yeah.
things. So same as us. When we design smart contracts, we're dealing with uh, millions and billions of assets going through the bridge that we have from one layer to another layer. So we want to make sure that if the worst things happen, we have a way to limit the
So,
damage.
but technically, so the multi-sig is basically on the Ethereum smart contract, right? The way I understand that, all these
Exactly.
assets that are taken from ETH to Polygon, it's not like they leave ETH; they're just locked up on ETH, and
Yeah,
then
they
an
they lock
equivalent.
over there. Yes.
So,
But
but in
also
Metis is similar, right?
remember when people want to move the assets from Polygon back to Ethereum, so they can transfer the assets from the Ethereum smart contract to their own account. That particular action, that particular action requires certain proof saying, okay, I'm the one that authorized this move, not someone else.
Yeah.
I'm moving to the wallets I intend to move to. So that is the point of attack for a lot of hackers. So you heard about
Mm.
I forgot the name. There's some bridge got hacked, and they somehow fabricated a lot of assets
Yeah,
and
I think it was
trick the smart
Binance.
contract to send the
I
assets
think
to
it
their own
was.
account.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was Binance Chain, which was the latest, and I think it was like that. Yes, that they tricked the bridge into like releasing a bunch of assets like that.
Exactly, exactly. And so there's a lot of possibilities, especially when you grow bigger and more popular. And a lot of people will be looking at a smart contract and trying to find creative ways. I have seen a lot of creative exploits. Which I
Right,
always
right.
feel a little bit nervous trying to say, okay, this is like very, very creative. I have to look at our smart contract is something that's vulnerable to us, and every time, okay, oh, that's a relief. Okay, everything's fine. But you never know.
Right.
Some smart kids in the basement, they may invent another exploit that we never thought of. So that's why, especially when the technology is still new, it's like 2 or 3 years old, new, and we're still seeing different ways of exploits and stuff. We want to make sure that we have the last line of defense, saying if the worst things happen, we have a way to kind of mitigate that damage, so protect the user's assets. That's why you see all the scaling solutions out there. They always have this multi-sig wallets to kind of safeguard the entire network's
But how
assets.
does this work? Because in one way you gotta have it automated so that people can bridge back and forth. So it needs to be automated. But is it that if the transaction is above a specific dollar amount, that it needs a multi-sig confirm, or
Not
how do
really.
you work
So
with it?
not really. So the asset, the multi-sig the multi-sig wallets over there, the only I would say the biggest role it has is to kind of serve as the owner of that particular contract. So if there's something we have to
Hmm.
fix, we can use that wallet to fix. And there's also a function that we can pause if in the worst case scenario we need to pause the bridge, so that, for example, if something is being hacked, we know it's going to be bad. Let's pause the bridging for a while. So that's again the last resort. We usually don't do it. We actually had some projects got hacked in Metis
Yeah.
earlier this year, and we didn't do anything because we know, okay, look, we are not supposed to do anything for this particular one, and that hacking
Yeah.
is responsible for that particular project. So we were debating whether hey, we should stop or not. But again, for the true nature or true spirit of decentralization, we decide, okay, let's keep it going, and we work with the
Right.
project
Right.
to deal with that particular incident afterwards. So that particular wallet is, again, like I said, a last defense line of defense. it is not used in any of the day-to-day kind of bridging actions. The bridging is always done by the smart contract, by the user. So that
Yeah.
multi-sig wallet is just a safeguard. So I do know a lot of people criticize that, and including Optimism, they also have this. They're trying to remove it because they are doing a lot of testing, making sure the overall logic is sound. We are doing a lot of tests as well. We're observing if there's anything that we can have any vulnerability that can be attacked. So hopefully, by the time when we are feeling more confident about the robustness of the smart contract related to the bridging, we can remove the multi-sig signature. So that is
Right.
absolutely done. We just need to one transaction saying, hey, let's just set the owner to 0. Done.
That's
And
it.
then we
That's it.
okay,
But
let her go.
basically, so the multisig, what it can do basically is to pause the contract, but also like move all assets to another, or like change the implementation of the contract,
You can
right?
change the
So that
implementation, and
yeah,
you can move the assets if in the worst case scenario. But again, just
mm,
like a lot of optimistic rollup, they have a centralized sequencer right now. They're a single sequencer. We are trying to
yeah, yeah,
decentralize it in different ways, but again, most of it, including right now, METIS has one single sequencer. There's certain level of trust that people needs to give us
yeah.
right now. It's part of the training wheel. But
It
like
makes sense.
others, we're all very reputable project teams that we've been around for a long time, and people trust us and really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it makes sense. Like you say, it's many hacks, and we don't know all the vectors yet, and people are very
Exactly.
creative. And now we have flash loan. You can even fake how much money
Oh
you
yeah,
have.
oh, gosh.
And that was I mean that was kind of a security mechanism in the past, that you thought that okay, anyone who has enough coins, they would never like destroy our app because they have our coins, so they're gonna destroy their own
You never
wealth. But
know,
then you have
right? So
flash loan, bam, anyone can
can,
have it.
can I add on top of that? Because that actually the invention of the flash loan does trigger a lot of thoughts regarding how we do governance now. Because
Yeah,
initially, governance is very simple. Hey, if you have more tokens, you have more rights.
right,
But
right,
with the loans, with all the DeFi innovations that we have, you actually can get a large amount of loans at a relatively small cost, and it can do a lot more
right.
damage because of
Yep,
that.
yep.
So we have been trying something new regarding the governance, the voting power and stuff. We have started to associate the voting power with user actions, the actual user actions on chain, and see their
Yeah.
actual contributions to the ecosystem. The more contribute, the more assets they somehow be infected, the more voting power they'll have. So that is something that I know some teams are exploring, but at METIS we have been focusing on this very much.
Right, right. And let me quickly share the screen here so we can go through some things, and we can discuss it more in depth. So, looking at your landing page, what kind of developers do you want to attract with this page? So there is Polygon, there is Binance, there is this, there and that. If I am a developer watching this, or maybe I just found your page somehow, what kind of message you think is important here? Why should I choose Metis and not some other layer too?
That's actually a very good question. So at METIS we what we're trying to do is to establish a Web3 economy. So it's not just the DeFi, it's not just the GameFi. Of course, we welcome all those projects. Uh, uh, they're the fundamental, I would say. For example, the DeFi project platform, the lending platform like Aave, those are the essential capital market projects. So that can help founding a lot of other things going on the network. So GameFi as well, because people need to do something on the network. GameFi uh, some GameFi provides the entertainment value that they can actually enjoy while doing things on the network,
Right.
along with some income associated with it. So that's again the utility of the blockchain or utility of the Web3. So that's what we focus on. So other than the DeFi, GameFi, those are the usual stuff. We focus on like company there is a recent announcement from METIS. You can look back. I think it's yesterday. Chorus was announced, who basically established the basic framework how you operate a company or organization,
Mm,
non for profit or for profit
okay.
organization, and do day-to-day operations. Oh, by the way, that's the initial platform. vision that we had. Now we finally can
Right,
do
right.
it because now we have the fast and cheap network. And the company can actually do their stuff and organize and manage their stuff and carry their operations on blockchain now with full transparency and a lot of automations built into the smart contracts.
But Peter,
So
I'm looking here. So sorry to interrupt you. So I'm looking here on the website, and I think what's good is that you have some key building blocks, like for example, Chainlink. You need
exactly,
Chainlink for so many things, and if a blockchain
exactly,
comes and they don't have Chainlink, now it suddenly is way harder. But another thing that is important is stable coins. So
yeah.
what kind of stable coins do you guys have? I'm looking here at DeFi. Is that the correct place? What is like the DAI of METIS?
That's another good question.
TDAO.
I won't be able to answer now. We had a discussion about stablecoins. We
Yeah.
actually predicted the fall of Luna uh,
Okay.
before it actually fell. Uh, we didn't do any short, so don't worry. So we didn't profit from it. But because we were discussing, hey, we probably need a stablecoin for our ecosystem. But then how do we do it, right? Is it going to be an algorithmic stablecoin like Luna?
Yeah.
Then we look at how Luna works, and the conclusion of the meeting is that's such a I don't know how can they be so successful at it? We
I
don't
mean,
understand.
yeah, yeah. I mean, but I mean, it's crazy. So, sorry to derail this conversation, but I mean, that's like the story of my life in crypto, because I remember when we spoke with Alex Mashinsky and he was explaining Celsius to me on the channel. Like, I remember I was like not fully understanding it. I was like, but yeah, but who is lending? Like, and he had some explanation, but I remember like not really fully understanding it. But then it was so big and everyone used it, and I thought to myself,
Yeah,
maybe I'm dumb. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm dumb. They're big, and the same with Luna as well. I remember thinking like, what the hell, like, but they're big, so maybe I'm dumb, I don't know. But I mean, some things that don't make sense sometimes is for a reason.
yeah, exactly. So we were like spinning our hands, like how can this be this big, and how can people buy
Yeah.
into this? But again, this is like all like it's okay. So as what happened happens. I think people learn from it. I don't think people will learn from it, honestly. I think the next thing will be very similar. But still, we do have a principle here at METIS. We do not want to be involved in such a scheme. So we're still trying to figure out a proper way to do stablecoins in our ecosystem. So far, our de facto stablecoin that we use a lot in almost all applications is the USDC. So that has backed by
Oh,
Circle.
like the bridge version, or is it natively on
The bridge version.
Metis?
So yeah, the
Got
bridge
it.
version. So we are talking to Circle about hey whether we can have a native USDC on Metis as well. That depends on, of course, the overall activities and network. So absolutely welcome more developers to build our network, so that we can have a native USDC on our network.
Yeah, I mean that's so important with to grow the DeFi space, and also with like Chainlink and stablecoin, it's like two key infrastructure pieces. Also, let me share again. I'm seeing here that there is this QuiDAO, and maybe you can explain what that, because isn't that kind of like MakerDAO, right? Or what
Yes,
is
I
this?
think that's they had some spin off about some popular DeFi protocols.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
happens to every chain. So we do allow that, and again, we are open platform. You can do whatever you want on the network. We are not gonna censor you. That's
Right,
again
right.
according to the spiritual of decentralization. So there are indeed a number of products that kind of okay, just a spin off of the like famous protocol. But they usually we do require them to have some special flavors. Like you have to do some innovations. You have to do something different from just copy pasting,
Right.
and in order to be listed here. So they do offer certain things that's different from the original protocol.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And we've touched on the ecosystem a bit, and you guys can go to metis.io/ecosystem to browse that page I just showed you. But let's speak more about how it is this fast, and why you don't need the same security trade-off as, let's say, Polygon through that consensus, that they have their own consensus, you don't. Let's maybe take a
Yeah,
step back and discuss that, like how you gain the speed but you don't have your own consensus, as far as I understood from what you said before. But
yeah,
the thing that is similar is that you have that multisig that guards the assets for the reasons we discussed. But yeah,
yeah,
let's discuss now that we know that about multisig. What's the next thing? Like, how is it fast, and
yeah.
how is it without consensus?
Absolutely, absolutely. So there's always a trade-off. Or I won't say there's no trade-off. There's always a trade-off.
Yeah.
Trade-off is that the user needs to wait for 7 days before they can complete the withdrawal from layer 2 to layer 1. This is a common limitation for all the optimistic rollup. The reason why we had to do that is that the actual consensus uh, does not happen when you actually submit a transaction, get confirmed by the prop user. It's kind of happen implicitly in a way, so that a verifier can actually verify your transaction based on the information on layer 1 that we submitted as part of the rollup process, and they can challenge if they find certain transactions are not being rolled up or rolled up properly. That challenge requires a window, 7 days window. The reason why we pick 7 days is at least now, maybe it's different now, but it's because the Ethereum is not as busy as before. But you can, if you have enough money, you can control the Ethereum network for a certain time. Okay, so I don't know if your audience is aware of this, or if this is something new even to you. You can actually control the entire network. Basically, you can produce certain states. Say some transactions being executed in this way. For example, I can actually say, Ivan, so you have transferred me $1 million from your account. If I have a couple millions, I can actually say that for maybe a day or a couple hours. I can say that. So if you are like checking
Really?
whether I have $1 million or not,
Well, I
you
mean,
you happen to check within that time window. Yes, I have that $1 million in my account.
well,
Like,
I know that people do that all the time with like their own coin, where they like spoof the log, and they can send you coin and then take away coin from you. So with ERC20, I've seen that like people spoof the log in their own coin that they control. But you mean that it's possible to do without spoofing
it's
log,
possible
like
to do
actually?
without like, oh, you can say, okay, you transfer 1 Ethereum to me for no reason.
Is it because
Like
of proof of
I can
stake, or
fabricate
how?
that particular transaction for an hour, because the other nodes will notice, they will delete the states eventually.
Well, okay, so you're speaking about like orphaned blockers, or like
No,
I
it's more of
have
like
my own
51. It's a 51% network attack. So
51%.
if I have a lot of
Right.
money, I have a lot of nodes spinning up, I try to compete. I control the network. I can do that. So
Well, but
it requires more capital if you want to keep that state longer. For example, for 7 days, it is almost a astronomical number. So we determine, okay, for 7 days, it is not feasible for someone to control entire network to basically keep that fraudulent state. So within the 7 days, the network must be in a state where it's actually good and valid. So verifier can actually use that information to verify whether your transaction is valid or not. That's exactly the reason why we have this 7 day window. Hopefully that explains a lot of people
right,
why
right.
we have to wait for 6 days. Because Ethereum, as a decentralized platform, do have certain quirks where you can
Well,
have a
but
invalid state for a period of time.
what is the game theory behind that? Because basically, if I have enough ETH and I have my own validator, so you've calculated that with having, I don't know if you know the amount, but this is like hundreds of millions. I could have enough validators to trick all the network or only part of the network before they figure out
Well, only the part of the network, right? So again,
part of the network.
I'm not an expert in the 51% attack, because never
Yeah,
wanted
yeah,
to read into too much, because I never want to carry it out. But I do know with enough
yeah,
money,
yeah,
you
yeah.
can actually take control of the network for a period of time.
Right, right, right. Interesting,
So
interesting.
so
Yeah,
so that's the whole reason why we have this 7 day window. Again, hopefully people now understand and stop asking me why 7 days. For your security reason, why we want 7 days.
well, I mean, so basically, you're saying that it is 7 days because it's optimistic rollup, which means that
Yeah.
But why are you worried about ETH? I mean, the big worry is in case is the other way around, because then you can unlock a bunch of things on ETH, right? So it's if someone can trick your script that unlocks things on ETH. I mean, that's the big worry, right? That I
So
let's say I say
the
yeah,
reason is sorry to interrupt, by the way. So the
no
reason
worries, no
is
worries.
the way we handle the bridge from L2 to L1 is to basically check a message saying whether that particular transaction, because when you do L2 to L1, you basically initiate transaction on L2 saying, hey, I want to bridge this amount of token to L1. That's an actual transaction happening on the L2. So that transaction will be packaged and roll up, and that state will be uploaded to L1. Okay. So and
Okay, yeah,
that state basically contains a proof telling Ethereum that okay, I can transfer a certain amount of token from my bridge account to this user's account. So that particular state is the proof. Okay.
okay,
And if I can fabricate that state, saying, okay, I fabricate state in a way, so I say instead of I transfer 10 Ethereum from this account to the instead of saying I'm bridging 10 Ethereum, I'm saying I'm bridging 1,000 Ethereum. Okay, I fabricate that state saying, okay, I actually bridged 1,000 Ethereum, and I can actually execute a transfer from the bridge account to my own account with 1,000
right.
Ethereum because the state says, okay, yeah, I did indeed have a
Yeah,
thousand
I mean,
Ethereum bridged over.
Eh, so I mean that I understand that I have, let's say, 10 ETH on Metis. I want to withdraw that to Ethereum, but I say withdraw 1,000 ETH or something. Then your validators, they will catch that within those 7 days. They have an incentive to go and find all of these inconsistencies. So they
Yeah,
will then catch that. They have 7 days to catch that.
exactly.
And the game theory is that they earn money by catching this inconsistency.
Yes,
So someone will do that, and that's because it is optimistic. So you don't have a mathematical proof of these rollups that happen. You trust them, and then maybe someone cashes in 7 days, and that's
yes.
yeah. I mean,
So
that's how
that would be
optimism.
the other side with the ZK. ZK is the mathematical proof
Right. And that
that
was my
okay.
next question. Have you considered ZK instead of optimistic?
So the first question you asked, why consider METIS? METIS is a organization that we're not married to any technology. So the short answer to you, yes, we are actually having an active group. And we're hiring, by the way. So for anyone that is familiar with ZK, Stark, we are focusing on Stark right now. For anyone familiar with ZK Stark and like mathematics, love cryptographics, please reach out to me. And we're actively hiring for this team. So we are indeed having a project undergo a project. It's actually open source. You can look our Metis GitHub organization. There are a couple repos there related to the ZK proof. So we are actually working on that. So what we do, and thanks to the Optimism team, they have done a great work to introduce MIPS into the whole fraud proof system that they have. MIPS is a particularly great instruction set that we love a lot because if you search online, you will know that MIPS has actually been around for a long time. It's not an invention that Optimism team had. It's actually invented by some Silicon Valley professor, if I remember correctly. It's beautiful, it's static, and the number of instructions is relatively small. And it's actually perfect for a ZK proof generation and verification system. So we are actually working on that. We hope to introduce it hopefully later in a year or next year so that we can actually say, you know what, okay, so
But
you have your transaction in the system, and we package that, so we know this transaction is there. But the finality of the transaction will be the time when a a proof generator can actually submit a proof and be verified by the verifier. By that time, that transaction batch will be marked as finalized, and you don't have to wait for 7 days anymore. So
and that's
that would be
important
a
to
great
note
way
that
to work around. Yeah.
it's important to note that you guys have potential roadmap to remove that 7-day through
Yes,
ZK
yes,
rollups instead of optimistic.
yes.
But one thing is that you say that you're developing it from scratch. It sounds like, but there
Oh no, it's
are
not from scratch. There's no way we can develop anything from scratch nowadays.
right. There are many of them, right? Like there are so many ZK EVM, ZK. This like the last year has been all about ZK.
Yeah,
And I haven't seen a lot of like ZK Sync, I know, but like the Optimism and Arbitrum guys, they're still Optimism, right? So why haven't we
yes.
seen that more like in production? It's not ready yet. The whole industry haven't figured it out, or
Oh,
what are we
so
waiting
I
for?
can tell you the whole industry is still has still a lot of have a lot of challenges they have to solve. Even for ZK rollup, they have trusted ceremonies. In a way, it's not completely untrusted. So it's not completely decentralized in a way. There's still some trusted parties you have to rely on. Uh, there, there are teams that are working on KZG commitments. Actually, there's a recent events that coming from the Ethereum Foundation, uh, asking people to participate in the KZG ceremony. They'll talk more about it. I'm not gonna repeat what I'm gonna say,
Right,
but
right, right.
yeah. So the current technology still have a lot of limitations. What we're focusing on, because we're focusing on stock right now, because we also believe stock is the future. But Stark has a lot of problems with the proof generation time and the proof size. We have something working already internally, but the proof size is too big and we cannot use it in the production workload. So a lot of research has been going on, like reducing the proof size. For example, using some form of polynomial commitments instead of Merkle trees for our proofs and stuff. Again, like I said, anyone interested in mathematics, cryptographics, interesting in ZK,
Polynomial
please reach out to me.
commitments,
We're hiring.
exactly. Merkle tree. If you are comfortable in that calculations, go to Metis as soon as possible. And yeah, I mean, I think I mean, that's gotta be the end game of scaling if we have ZK. And actually, then there's another problem we need to figure out, and that's composability. Because with ZK, yes, then we can quickly go up and down, L2, L1. But do you think we'll solve composability? Because if I have a Uniswap thing on L1, I want to trade it with stuff on L2 without bridging it back and forth. So you think that's like the next step, or will we ever reach that on Ethereum, the composability
Oh,
between layers?
a good question. We will. I do know there's a ZK bridge project that's been focusing on L2 to L2 bridging. In a way, bridging. But we do need some framework where everyone can kind of follow. Say, hey, a certain action, a certain transaction, be marked as a or be marked as a cross chain, so that we can actually have a mechanism to handle that. I do believe
Yeah.
it's possible, and I do believe ZK is the foundation of it. But the thing is, even
Interesting.
for a ZK, it takes time to generate a proof. So it's not going to be instant. So before we can solve that computation complexity, the composability problem will still need some time. So I think there'll be a lower priority than, to me, a lower priority than the actual ZK proof generation that we're working on.
Makes sense. And what is the biggest DEX on Metis? I like here. I see that the token is on Uniswap and Hermes. Is that your not your, but is it on Metis?
Yes,
Is Metis trading on? Is that Hermes the one?
yes, it's a DEX on METIS.
Got it. And is this the biggest dApp in terms of volume or total value locked and things like that on the Metis? Or which other
We
ones you
have
think are?
honestly we have a quite number of decks that they go head to head a lot of times. Sometimes this one is big, sometimes the other one is big. So it depends.
Right. So we have Hermes, which is like you said, one of the dexes. And then let's see if we go here. Like for people to try this out, you can go to metis.io and then you go to, let's see, where's the bridge? I saw the bridge here somewhere. Here, or you can go to bridge.metis.io. So you can bridge some ETH into Metis. Let's see, Andromeda. Yeah, anyway, you can do this. And then you can try to use Hermes, I guess, right? Or which what else should people try here? Like Hummus, Hermes, NetSwap. What would you say is like the
I would definitely encourage
beginner
the people
starter
to
pack?
start a pack. I would definitely encourage people to try everything you show on the stage because people definitely are familiar with decks. right? So
Yeah.
once you're familiar with all the DeFi, then you can explore other projects on this particular page. So definitely try out the DAC one, the chorus that we just announced. I think definitely something that you want to try.
What
And
does DAC
we
stand for?
it's a
Is it company?
decentralized autonomous company. It's more of like similar to Aragon.
Oh,
Also,
Aragon.
they
Yeah,
haven't
yeah,
added
yeah.
to it yet, so you can try. So I should tell them to add to this page. But it's basically something that you can, for example, if you want to create a tech consulting company, that you can create on the blockchain, and then you can
Right, right,
do your marketing, then you can do your task management, and they can do your CRM on the chain,
right, right.
following the chorus network over there. And on top of that, we also have another project called Matrix, which allows projects to create the what's it called, the NFT based reputation badge. So can kind of
Okay.
track all the interactions you have apps, and provides special incentives along the process. That's another thing. This is definitely a sneak peek, because the announcement will probably come in February. So we'll talk more about that particular one in February.
So you said so the one that you just mentioned is Matrix, right? But it's not in the ecosystem
No, yeah, because it's not announced.
page.
Sorry,
Ah, okay. But
I
it's
need
like
to say
it got
sorry
announced here. Got
to
it.
the Matrix team. Sorry, I kind of spilled the beans a bit, but
Still the
it is
right,
later.
right. Okay, okay, yeah, and I like that you're focused personally, at least. It seems that you like this thing with worldwide collaboration. With
Yes.
this is how you started, and this is what you speak about. And yeah, and Aragon, I know they're a very old project. They're from 2017. I remember them still
Hmm.
being here, and the reason I know them is because it's a funny story. But the founder, of Aragon, I was in a programming competition with him when we were 14 or something, and then I started in Web3, and then I see Aragon. I thought is the guy. So I've been following them for quite some time, and it's good to see that they're growing.
Do you
And
still have a chat with the founder of Aragon? Because
no, no, no. We need to
you
create a
don't.
chat though.
Okay, okay.
So the guy that I did the competition with long time ago is the Louis Ivan guy
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in Aragon, and I remember he at that point. I was super young. I didn't know a lot about programming. I was doing stuff in PHP because that's what I understood. And I remember he was the first guy who told me you should learn Node.js, and this was like before Node.js became big, and
That's
that's
yeah.
the,
Node.js is everything now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But this was before they became big. That was it was still PHP world. But I don't have contact with him now, unfortunately. But it's
It's
good
okay.
to see
Yeah,
that they're
yeah.
growing.
Very, very good. Very good. It's actually a small world, especially in technology industries. Not many programmers
Right,
out
right.
there. So
Exactly, exactly. But yeah, listen, Peter or Juan, Peter, how should we end this? People should go to Metis page, bridge. We showed the bridge. We showed the DeFi world.
yeah.
Some final remarks. What should people know more about Metis that we haven't covered yet? And
Uh,
developers
uh,
in particular. Oh yes, sorry.
yeah.
Let's cover the development landscape with the tools, how they build on Metis. Let's do that before we end.
Absolutely, because that will be a very simple answer. So whatever tools you use for Ethereum, it works on Metis. So you don't have to change your habit. You don't have to change your script. You just change to a different RPC endpoint. That's it, done. So you don't have to worry about the development environment. You have the full support from ecosystem.
Where do I find
Uh,
the RPC URL? Is there
so that'll be in
on
the
your page? Or?
docs.metis.io, and there's a little a page called connection details. So you will have all the information
Got
there.
it.
So we have a test net on Growly, and we also the main net called Andromeda. So both have the test net. Of course, you can acquire free test tokens, and on Andromeda, once you bridge certain assets, you will get a free Metis drop, airdrop as well. But as soon as you start to start to do some transactions on Metis, you'll notice that the transaction fee is so low, so you don't need a whole bunch of Metis to get started.
Right. Yeah, so here guys, you go to the docs, let's see, RPC, get started, connection details. Here you find the RPC connection detail. There you go. And yeah, basically connect your MetaMask, get going, try uploading something to the network, and it should be super simple. And finally,
Yeah.
what should people know more outside of everything we discussed in this in this interview? What have we missed that is important?
Okay, so one thing I do want to add is if you're new to Web3, you're kind of being overwhelmed by all the Web3 terms, and small contracts and stuff, you can still develop on METIS. I mean, if you still want to show that doc page again, so
Yep.
there is a section called Polis. So that is a platform that we developed specifically for people that are not very familiar with Web3 developments methodologies. Uh,
Is it Polis? Dashboard of Polis. Let's see. How to get started with client integration.
yeah, I think this part of the
MetaMask.
poll. Yes, this is part of
Okay.
Polis. So again, within this section, and there will be a better documentation coming your way. So don't worry if you still feel this is a little bit too much to consume. But the long story short, if you're familiar with Web2 REST APIs, familiar with the OAuth authentication workflow, you can work with Polis directly and you can start programming for Web3. You don't have to learn smart contracts. You don't have to deal with ETH.js or Web3 JS and
Right,
stuff.
right.
We do a lot of heavy lifting for you. So this is absolutely a great entry point if you're interested in develop some decentralized applications, but you do not want to spend too much time learning the new stack. This is the way to go.
Yeah, and I see basically you sent some HTTP requests here with send
Yeah,
transaction, this and
there
that.
are more. So I think this documentation may be a little bit outdated, but we'll have update very soon. So keep in mind,
Yeah.
keep on watch for this, and we'll update it.
And I love this approach, by the way. This is what we do at Moralis as well, where we want Web2 devs to instantly come into Web3. Where you want to log in a user, it should be one line of code, and you connect the wallet or you sign the message to have a sign in with Ethereum. It should be super simple. It's too complex now. And the
Exactly.
same thing, you want to get the ERC20 balances of a user. That's actually why we started Moralis, because we were building
Oh yeah.
a chat. So let me tell you, we were building a chat for our community, for Ivan Tech community, and I wanted that people who have our NFTs and our tokens, they can chat and they can be part of the chat, and other people should not
Mm-hmm.
be able to chat.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought it would be easy, but I'm like, man, how do
Nope.
I get all NFTs of a user? It should be on the blockchain, but the blockchain does not know my balances. I need to query all smart contracts. We said, okay, let's do an API. We can index it so you can
Yes.
query it. And then,
Yes.
okay, ERC20, the same thing. The blockchain does not know. We need to index it. And then we see
Yes.
so many things. If I come to Web3, there is native transaction, which is ETH. Then there is
Exactly.
token transaction. It works fully different. Fully different.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
not even the same.
Because
And
token
you
is the
can fake.
afterthought. Token is not the initial design of the
Exactly,
network. It's the
exactly.
afterthought.
And you can fake sender and receiver, like what we mentioned. I can spoof a log that says that you send this
Yeah. Yeah.
asset to that. Then there are NFTs which are different. And let's not forget, there is also internal transactions, which is another transaction
Yes.
type, which is also different. Like all of this
Yes.
mess, our mission is to simplify it as well. So I like that you through SDKs and APIs. I like that you guys are approaching that as well. But yeah, fantastic
So we
talk.
can
Yep,
definitely talk. Ivan. So maybe after we can connect, have another chat,
for sure.
because the new project that we're gonna announce in February actually covers a lot of what you said. We actually allows, for example, Discord logging. You don't really need to worry about MetaMask anymore. So we're gonna kill MetaMask in a way. So you don't have to deal with that, and you can use your Telegram logging, you can use your Discord logging. We're gonna add Twitter logging as well, other social network logging, Google stuff. We can have that. And you still control your own private key in your own devices. and we're gonna introduce SSI and DID, all those buzzwords. So you'll
Interesting,
hear more. Again,
interesting.
I need to stop spill the beans for that team because
Yeah,
they'll be
yeah, yeah.
very
You
mad at
spilled
me.
all the beans. Exactly, exactly. The full 5-year roadmap is in this video. Yeah, let's absolutely do that as we have a chat going already. But yeah, listen, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for paying attention. Peter, Juan, thanks a lot for being here as well. We're gonna be in touch and smash the like, guys. Go follow Metis on Twitter and have a good day.
Thank you.
1 second.